Hello and welcome. I'm Shalini Verma. We hear a lot about energy efficiency these days. Labels on appliances, advertisements from energy companies all use the phrase. But what does it really mean? In simple terms, it means doing more with less. That is, squeezing as much useful power out of as little energy as possible, but not letting any go to waste. With the incredible growth in the consumption of energy over the last few decades, we are in danger of using up the planet's natural resources, of destroying vital habitats and polluting the air we breathe. So it is important to reduce our energy consumption and adopt a more energy efficient lifestyle. But how? And to talk more on energy efficiency, I have with me in the studio Mr. Girish Sethi, who is Senior Director, Energy Program, the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI, and Mr. Alok Tripathi, who is Executive Head, Petroleum Conservation Research Association under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Welcome to the program. I'll begin the discussion with you, Mr. Tripathi. Let's first understand and decipher the meaning and significance of energy efficiency. Why energy efficiency?
So, there are two reasons for energy efficiency in the context of our country. One is the energy security part, because we all know that if we talk about energy, the petroleum product is one of the major source of energy. And last year, more than 200 million ton oil equivalent product we consume, and out of that roughly 80% was imported. So we have around 80% of import dependency. On the other side, we also know that energy per capita consumption in our country is still very low. So with the rising level of income as well as increasing population, our energy consumption is going to grow up. That will also increase our import dependency. So that is why one of the ways of enhancing energy security is the energy efficiency, bringing energy efficiency in every sector of the economy. The second part is that we all know that excessive use of fossil fuel like petroleum, coal, which are major source of energy, it leads to the health and environmental hazard conditions in the society. We have already seen the extreme weather phenomena which are happening across the country in terms of heavy rain, drought and other kind of things. So we should also try to have the responsible consumption of energy, not the excessive consumption. So there also comes the role of energy efficiency. So there are two important reasons why the energy efficiency is required. One is enhancing energy security and second is environment.
Okay, can you give us a brief idea about our energy consumption pattern in order to understand as to why we need an energy efficient lifestyle?
Yeah, in terms of the energy consumption pattern, see, energy will be used primarily in different sectors of the economy. The largest, if we see in case of India, is the industrial sector. More than 50% of the total energy consumption in the country is actually used in the industrial sector. It could be in the large, big industries, very energy intensive industries, cement, steel, quite a few of these, or it could be small and medium enterprises. We have millions of these enterprises across the country. So the largest chunk is 50%, more than 50% is actually industries. Next comes the transport sector. And transport, we all know, I think we all use personalized vehicles, and as was mentioned, I think we are quite a lot dependent on imported fuels. So mostly the liquid fuels, the oil is consumed in the transport sector. The third largest sector, the third in terms of the value number, would be the residential sector. Close to around 10 to 12% of the total energy consumption in the country is in the residential sector. And then we have agricultural, which is on a total value, quantity wise it is less, and then we have certain other uses. So broadly one would say industrial sector, transport sector, residential sector and commercial sector, the buildings, the malls, and then the agriculture sector. So this is the larger pattern.
And if one has to look at the demand supply gaps, how do you see them in the Indian context? Though you said that the per capita consumption of energy is not as high in India as compared to maybe other countries, but what are the pressures otherwise on the energy sector that one sees?
So one is because the major source of energy is petroleum products, where we are highly deficit country in a way, because so as I already mentioned that our petroleum product consumption was more than 200 million ton of oil equivalent, and out of that our import dependency was more than 80%.
Yes.
And it it keeps increasing also. So this is a very important issue for us, that how do we enhance our energy security, how do we reduce our import dependency.
Yes.
So the policy focus of the government is in this direction, how to replace the petroleum product consumption by other kind of energy resources, or how do we bring the energy efficiency in different sectors of economy so as to reduce the petroleum product consumption.
But you know, there are also parallel challenges because we are a developing country. So definitely the demand for energy is certainly going to go up.
Yes.
Then you have to have technologies which are, you know, which use less amount of energy. So there's a lot which is basically, you know, as is believed, is also at an exploratory stage in India. How do you view that? How do you view that situation vis-a-vis our approach towards energy efficiency and the commitments that we have expressed?
So when we talk about energy efficiency, you are right that the technology is still a kind of ongoing development process. But government is aware of the technology intervention, and we are also developing the policies which are leading to energy efficiencies. I can quote many examples from different sectors of economy, as Girish was mentioning about the industrial segment also. So in industry also, we know that we have certain very good schemes which are promoting energy efficiency. There is one scheme called PAT, which is Performance Achievement Trade Scheme, which is an ongoing scheme, and which is one of the successful scheme of the government. So there is intervention in every sector of economy to increase the energy efficiency that way.
If you can please explain to us the role that PCRA plays here.
So PCRA is basically an autonomous organization under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and it was created in 1978 post global oil crisis, when our country also faced shortage of petroleum product. And then the government decided to concentrate on petroleum conservation programs, and then the PCRA was created with the objectives of increasing the energy efficiency and fuel conservation, and later on the environment protection was also added to the mandate of PCRA. We normally do 3 or 4 types of activities. One is basically we support the government to frame policies which relate to fuel conservation, which promote fuel conservation and energy efficiency. We also do the citizen-centric activities to create awareness about need and ways of fuel conservation. And we also do certain other kind of activities like energy audit and ISO 50000, which are in real way going to reduce the energy consumption in different sectors.
And one interesting thing here, since you mentioned that it's largely the sectors that are using it, and you can see that largely everyone is involved in the energy consumption cycle. But when you compare the situation within cities and even among, you know, the different tier cities, there's a different pattern that emerges. Compare them with villages, there's an entirely different picture that comes to the fore. So does it become really very complex when it comes to approaching the issue of energy efficiency in a very holistic manner in a country like India?
Yeah, one can call it complex in one way, but I think if one really divides, as you mentioned about the urban sector and the rural sector, if you are looking at the urban sector, see, it's very clear that the incomes are rising, people are wanting to go in for equipment which are consuming higher amounts of energy, and the most common example which we all see is the use of air conditioners in the households. In large cities like Delhi, Bombay, you will see that one of the first equipment, if somebody is having extra disposable income, they would like to go in for maybe after a television, go in for
an air conditioner,
switch over from a fan to a desert cooler to an AC. Now what we are seeing is that take the example of Delhi itself. Last year, I think we touched, just the city of Delhi touched close to 7,000 megawatt of the electricity. The peak was consumption around in the month of July 2018.
Okay.
We reached the barrier of 7,000 megawatt. And a lot of it is actually because in that period, in July-August period, we have high humidity and everybody is using air conditioners. Now, if one looks at, if we have to develop a campaign or a program, it has to be for the household sector. Definitely air conditioners have to be a part of it. And luckily, Government of India through the Bureau of Energy Efficiency has programs focused on air conditioners. They have a star rating program, and I think everybody knows if he goes to a shop, you will see a
Yes.
1-star to a 5-star AC.
Right.
Now, if somebody has to go in for a new AC, definitely one would say that yes, please go in for a 4-star or a 5-star AC.
That's right.
The other thing I think is also very important, since I am talking about the air conditioners, I think the very important thing also is, one is of course government has these programs of promoting efficient equipment. I think what is also important is for all of us as users of air conditioners. For example, I think the Government of India again a few months back also launched a program saying that why do we want to set the temperatures at 20 or 21 degree or 18 degree of the thermostat temperature in our room for the ACs. Why not 24 degrees centigrade? And
That's
it's
right.
quite a comfortable temperature setting for 24, 25. That's what one should do. And I think this is for all of us to see that we are not just using the AC by just switching it on and putting it at 20 degrees centigrade. And
How we save it and how we ensure that it
Exactly.
lasts for a longer duration of
Exactly.
time. Fine. On that note, we'll take a very short break. But after the break, the discussion on particularly adopting an energy efficient lifestyle, that will continue. Welcome back. We now look at an important aspect of how we use energy. Energy use is a very diverse and complex system, and the different elements require their own solutions. Well, Mr. Sethi, you were talking about the household consumption of ACs. So it stands even for refrigerators and other appliances that we use in our homes. So how do you see the approach and the awareness basically on that count?
I think the approach basically, I think in household, if you really see in a household, in any urban household, basically it's air conditioning, refrigeration, lighting, and then cooking. Now, if you look at all these segments, we talked briefly about air conditioners. In refrigerators also, it's almost a similar story. We have those appliance programs which are available, which is the 5-star refrigerators. For cooking, that's something which is extremely important, I think, and there are things which one can do, so many things in terms of reducing the LPG consumption or the kerosene consumption if we talk about the rural households. But basically, I think all the cooking habits which we have in our house, simple things like soaking the chickpeas in the evening before you start boiling it. It has been proven that 20 to 30% of energy can be reduced if you actually soak those chickpeas and then do the boiling.
Yes.
Or if the boiling starts, don't immediately you can turn on the knob and bring it to the simmering.
Yes.
Reduce it. So simple tips on those kind of things. Even many smaller things, that why do we always need to have lunch or dinner at 2 different times or 3 different times in the family, 4 people are sitting together. Every time you have to heat it and cool it. If you are
Yes.
together, then you don't need to do. These are
Yes.
small things. So all tips which one can do in cooking can really reduce 15 to 20% of energy consumption in the simple habits at the household level. Lighting, I think luckily India has a fantastic program now of moving towards LEDs. And I think many of the households have already switched over to the LEDs which consume far less energy as compared to the conventional old incandescent lamps. So we are moving in the right direction on the lighting front, I would say. And then I think in the household, the other important element very clearly also is how do we really design our houses? How do we really build the buildings?
Yes.
So
true.
we are seeing many new apartments coming in, I think in all major cities, multi-story apartments coming, or even independent households. So how do we really design our buildings? Somehow we should ensure that we make use of the natural lighting to the extent possible. Develop those kind of systems which...
And air channels,
Air
the
channels,
proper
yeah,
flow
yeah,
of
yeah.
air
So I
and
think-
proper
exactly.
light receptivity.
Yeah,
That's
so there
one
are
of the key
lots
things.
of things which can be done at so one is at the design stage itself for a building. If we are able to make a household which is a more green building, a more green design of the household, we can easily talk about 15 to 20% reduction as compared to the conventional buildings, conventional houses.
How do you think this solar program particularly has influenced our way of thinking here? I mean, is it really able to make the sort of intervention that it's expected to make?
Yeah, I think we are moving pretty fast on the solar energy side as well. I think India has committed, I think as Mr. Tripathi mentioned, I think climate change has been one of the major
Key drivers.
driving force,
Yes.
key drivers. So India has internationally committed to having more than 40%, up to 40% of the total energy by 2030 would come from non-fossil fuels, and solar energy is going to play a major role in that. And I think we are moving very fast in that direction. Even many of the households, commercial establishments are going in for solar rooftop programs, and we are moving in the right direction in that. And we can make major inroads in this sphere as well, I would think.
Okay, from households to the industrial sector, because that happens to be again a major consumer here. If you can please explain us the PAT program, the PAT initiative, and more on the industry side.
Yeah, so the PAT program basically is Perform, Achieve and Trade program of the Government of India, which was introduced by Bureau of Energy Efficiency in 2012. And the idea was to identify the high energy consumption consumer in the industrial segment, and they were called as designated consumer also, and then give them a kind of target for reduction of energy consumption, and then monitor it, and accordingly then incentivize or penalize such kind of DCs. So it's like a cap and trade program, which is a very internationally recognized program also, where you allow the trading of the certificates, which are basically equivalent to carbon saving also.
Okay.
So in case of PAT program, since 2012 till this date, 5 cycles of PAT have been initiated.
Okay.
Every cycle is of the 3 year, and almost 850 designated consumers have been identified in industrial segment, which have been assigned the target for reduction of the energy consumption. So if you include these 800 designated consumer, probably you are talking about roughly 65% of the total energy consumption in entire industrial segment in our country.
Okay.
So the reach of PAT program is up to 65% of the
65%.
total energy consumption. And then once you are given a target, then you have to achieve that target at the end of the cycle. And then there is a process of measurement and verification whether they have been able to achieve the target. Now, if there are 2 scenarios, one is that you are able to achieve the target, you are in fact able to achieve more than the target, then you are issued, there is something called energy saving certificates, e-certs. So one energy saving certificate is equivalent to 1 ton of oil equivalent saving.
Okay.
Now the second scenario is that you were given target and you are not able to achieve that target. In that case, either you pay the penalty which has been prescribed, or you buy these e-certs from those who have achieved more than the target.
All right.
So that is the kind of trading which has been allowed. The price of e-cert is basically explored. When the trading happens, then the price is explored. So it totally depends on demand supply situation. So the result of PAT cycle 1, which was initiated in 12 and which ended in 15, are available. In fact, on the gross scale, the target given was roughly 6.6 million ton of oil equivalent saving.
Okay.
And against that target, there was actual saving of 8.67 million tons. So it was much more than the what we anticipated.
Expected. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So now the other cycles are going on, and the measurement and verification for second cycle will happen after March 2019. Then we will come to know about the actual saving, but then we know that this program has resulted in significant amount of energy saving in industrial segment.
And this is a continuous thing.
It's a continuous
which
thing.
means there's a constant monitoring also
Yes,
that happens, and there's
yes.
a continuous check over
Yeah,
the
so every
energy
cycle
consumption pattern.
is of the 3-year period. So in 1.5 year period, we do the mandatory energy audit of such DCs, and then we find out their energy consumption. Then we fix a target for them, and then in next 1.5 year, they are supposed to do some kind of intervention, maybe the technology intervention or maybe changing their practices also to achieve that target. And after the end of that cycle, then you go for the measurement. and find out the actual performance vis-a-vis their target.
That's about the large industries.
Yes.
What about the small sector
Small
industries?
industries, it's a different story altogether. We are talking about large industries, 800 plus thousand, maybe they to reach in a couple of days, couple of months. Small industries, I think it has to be more of a kind of a, has been more of a kind of a voluntary program, more awareness programs, more hand-holding support to them. The awareness levels of the small and medium enterprises is far, far lower than for large, big consumers. So for that, again, Government of India does have programs. Bureau of Energy Efficiency has programs. PCRA also has been working. Quite a few of the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, MSMEs also have programs. But I think what is extremely important here is the role of the awareness and just providing them the nudge that please do this, do this, do this.
Okay, there is one thing here which is very important, that how the market responds to these policies and whether there is a proper synchronization between what the policies really aim to achieve and what the markets are really providing to the consumer. Do you see that synergy now very efficiently in the markets?
Yeah, I think it is happening, but obviously more can be done. I think we are not in a perfect society, so more and more things can be done. I think the fact remains that if we are talking the example of the small and medium enterprises, we're just talking. So here again, I think if one has to really go in for efficient equipment, efficient practices, the vendors will have to come up and start developing more and more such products which are of higher efficiency levels. Whether we are talking about say motors, in every factory you use a motor. Electric motor is the most common equipment. Pumps, blowers are the most common equipment. There are policies, but also the vendors will have to come forward and develop those kind of equipment and also come up and join this whole initiative to go and tell the consumer that if you are using an efficient motor or an efficient pump, you are going to save your electricity during the lifetime of the pump.
Basically, such policies and such initiatives need to be supported by as we say, in a country like ours, it's more about incentives. What kind of incentives it really offers to the consumer. So we'll explore that part too. Time for a very short break now in the program. Welcome back. Implementing energy efficiency in our homes and businesses is a crucially important strategy for reducing energy costs and also contributes to fight against climate change. We know that climate change is a real concern, but since we are talking about sector-wise, how energy efficiency, particularly as a program, as a thought, can really make the difference. Let's look at the transport sector, because that happens to be again a major contributor, major consumer basically of the available energy resources. How do you see what exactly is the approach there in that sector?
Well, from the government side, there are two types of approach the government has taken so far. One is from the manufacturer side. So we are trying to develop the policies in transport sector which are focused on manufacturer. So for example, recently government has developed the corporate average fuel efficiency norm for car segment. So where we are saying that every manufacturer in this country or every importer of the car in this country will have to have a certain threshold level of KMPL performance, kilometer per liter performance, mileage performance.
Okay.
If you are not able to achieve that mileage performance, you are not allowed to sell the car in this market. So this is one kind of policy intervention which government has taken. We have also developed fuel economy norms for heavy duty vehicle segments, which are the major consumer of diesel in this country. So, so when we talk about heavy duty vehicle, it means trucks and buses. So we have developed norms for every model of buses and trucks in this country. We are implementing, so that is under progress. Once it is implemented, then every manufacturer in this country will have to adhere to that norm. So this is one part of bringing the energy efficiency in the transport sector. The second type of approach is basically creating awareness about the fuel efficient driving practices.
Okay.
Now, in this approach also, there are two types of things which government has done. One, because of the suggestion from PCRA, the Ministry of Road and Surface Transport has now changed the central motor vehicle rule, and they have made the eco driving training program mandatory
Okay.
for the drivers of heavy duty vehicles. So, if you want to add the trucks and buses in your license, you will have to have a eco driving training, get a certificate issued from the authority, only then you are allowed to add these
And very
vehicles.
briefly, what exactly does eco driving mean?
So, eco driving means fuel efficient driving practices. So, once you are subjected to this kind of training, so what we do basically, we decide a patch of, let's say, 5 km where we try to assess the driving performance of a particular driver. We identify the shortcomings in the context of fuel efficiency.
Okay.
And then we impart them training with respect to fuel efficiency. How can you save fuel?
Right. The driving practices
Driving
that will help
practices,
you
yeah,
save
it's
the
very
fuel.
simple practices. And then once we know that now you are trained for fuel efficient driving practices, then a form which is called Form 5A in CMVR rule, then that form will be issued to you. Without this form, you will not be allowed to add car and trucks in your license.
You know, what I really find is that if we are taking the right steps in the right direction, we are certainly going to see the results.
Yeah, so let me say
Yeah.
another point. So the second approach is creating awareness about these kind of things. So
Yes.
we basically go to masses and tell them about the good driving practices, which are not only safe driving practices but also the fuel efficient driving practices. It's not a rocket science, there are very simple tips which you have to follow. For example, if you are driving your vehicle at the speed of 45 to 55, you are going to save fuel. If you are driving over 55, you are going to consume more fuel. If you are driving at a speed lesser than 45, you are still going to consume fuel. Or if you are having a long duration red light, you should switch off your engine at the red light. So like these are very simple tips which we ask people to follow, and that is why we create awareness about this, and we conduct various kind of transport workshops in this regard.
Yeah. So you said that, you know, you were mentioning about Saksham, which happens to be one of the initiatives here,
Yes,
in
yes.
order to ensure that more awareness can be spread among the
Yes,
masses.
yes.
If you can briefly tell us about this
So
initiative.
Saksham is basically Sanrakshan Kshamta Mahotsav. It's an acronym actually. So Sanrakshan means conservation, and conservation, we know that we require fuel conservation because of the energy security, environment and health. And Kshamta means capability, we know that. So we know that by imparting such kind of tips, simple tips, we are trying to make masses capable of for fuel conservation. And Mahotsav again is not, it's not a compulsion, it's basically a celebration.
Yes.
So we expect people to celebrate the fuel conservation, which is a very important cause for this country also. This is a 1 month program which we start on 15th of January every year and 16th of January, and it lasts till 15th of February. During this 1 month, we conduct many kind of citizen centric activities targeting every kind of segment. So
Okay.
we conduct transport workshop for driver segment.
Okay.
We conduct agriculture workshop for farmer community. We conduct domestic workshops for domestic housewives and cooks. How can they save LPG?
So particularly it's about creating more awareness,
Yes.
and you said that in 2018 about 9 crore people were benefited
yes.
With this campaign. Now, is awareness the only key here? Because if we speak of all these policies and the approach which has been followed in several sectors, it's basically making the average citizen aware about all this.
Yeah, I think awareness, of course, is the starting point, that you must save energy. That's the bottom line. But I think specifically in sectors like the industrial sector, I think you also need to impart that knowledge to the operators, to the workers who are operating this equipment in the factories. You also need to inculcate that knowledge even at the education level, so to really have a long-term impact. The new courses which are coming up in colleges or in the universities, engineers who are passing out every year, they also must have that basic sense of how you really want to inculcate that habit of energy conservation when you are doing it
Yes.
in the field, when you are going to the field. So one is awareness, other is the knowledge to the workers, to the operators, to the engineers, and then of course One is how to operate, and second also is the technology development. So I think I don't want to mention that, I would like to mention that the technology development also is an important aspect.
Yes,
So
true.
new developments are happening. You started a program by talking about development. That something has to be a continuous process.
Yes, everything actually
Everything.
has to happen in continuity, and I think everyone here has a role to play. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me in this program. Well, energy efficiency can start in small ways and can be executed on a personal, individual level. Once we have a better understanding of what energy efficiency is, we can educate others about the long-term benefits of saving energy and transforming the way we consume resources. After all, it is our responsibility to make sure that there is sufficient energy left for future generations. You can send us your feedbacks as well as suggestions to us. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.